So I'm going to put up this map right here. And I want you to tell me if you notice something very interesting about the color scheme on this map across Europe. Personal income tax rates. Yes, the further east you go on the map, the lower, in general, your personal income tax goes. So, you could be paying as little as 10% personal income tax legally by moving to what I dub as New Europe. That would be the part of Europe east of Germany and west of Russia. So, in this video, I'm going to outline exactly where the best personal income tax rates are in this region. Poiecăle.
SAR Experience.
So questions relating to taxes or real estate, getting visas, all these relocation questions, I normally deal with those with my consulting clients. So if you are considering relocating to this region, maybe you have questions about which country or which city is going to be the best fit for you. There's obviously a whole myriad of different factors to take into account. Then consider investing in a consulting call. Down below is a link to my consulting services. Go check that out. So let's look at this graph in a little bit more detail on the personal income tax rates. And I guess you've spotted that, yeah, it is way lower in this part of Europe than to the west. Already, you're able to look at the color coding here. So let's take a little bit of a glimpse at some of the details. So if you look at, the higher end of the graph, we've got countries like Denmark, 55.9%, France, 55.4%. Obviously, we're looking at the average statutory top personal income tax rates. And yeah, Austria is at 55%. So it can be over 50% once you get into that top tax band. And on the other side of the continent, more or less, or at least the other side of New Europe, we'll exclude Russia for now and Belarus. You have tax rates that are like in Hungary, 15%, Estonia, 20%, Czechia, 23%. And if you go even further, I guess, to the east to a certain extent, you can get even lower ones like Bulgaria and Romania, 10%. 10% versus 55% tax top band. That's like, that's crazy difference. Also, Moldova, 12%. Here in Ukraine, it's 19.5%. That includes the 1.5% war tax. And Georgia, which is in the Southern Caucasus, also an EU candidate country now, 20% top tax band. And actually in Georgia, if you are a foreigner coming in, there are ways to get that down even further because there's no extraterritorial tax, but that's out of the scope of today's video. It's actually, Georgia's pretty attractive because of its visa-free and tax regime in general. So how does this compare with the US? Well, looking at the federal top income tax rates for the 50 US states and the District of Columbia, the average combined state and federal income tax is 42.3%. And obviously that can vary from by state to state, so 37% in states without any state income tax to like up to 50% in California. So there you go. You have massive differences, 10% versus 35, versus 55. What am I saying, 35? 55. Actually, when you look at New Europe as I define it, I have a video down below and up in a card that'll go into more detail what I mean by that classification. It's also not just based on the tax rates, but it's also geopolitical. When I look through the list, you have maybe at the top end for this region, Poland at 36%, but I don't think it goes higher really anywhere else. I'm not going to count Slovenia as being in New Europe. It's very similar to kind of Austria, it's 50% there. Let me see, maybe another country. Slovakia is 25%, Lithuania is 32%, Latvia is 31%. Where else do we have here? Croatia is 35%. Obviously we said Bulgaria 10. So yeah, countries like Spain 54, Sweden 52, United Kingdom 45. My home country of Ireland is 48%. So there you see Iceland 46, Italy 47. So yeah, you see a very clear trend from one side of Europe to the other, in the sense of old Europe, which is the tax rates from more or less 35 all the way up to 55%, and Europe, which has the tax rates from 10% up to 35%, more or less. Then you also need to analyze, of course, at what point you enter the top income tax bracket. That's going to also differ quite a bit between old and new Europe. However, you can see the trend that countries in old Europe, you have the express train for the kids going past there, countries in old Europe like high taxes, high income taxes, while countries in new Europe prefer lower personal income taxes. So that is basically clear as night and day there on the graph for you. It's one of the reasons, because they're coming here now. Most of my clients actually, they set up their revenues remotely, and actually many of them are even paying those higher taxes in, say, Western Europe or North America, and then they spend part of the year here. Others, they set up companies that make it more tax efficient. So yeah, you can pick and choose what you're going to do as a structure for yourself, whatever works the best. And then some of them are paying maybe not personal income tax here, but they're paying like for small business owner taxes, very attractive here in Ukraine. But in this video, we're just going to talk about the obvious, very clear and understandable difference in personal tax rates. And what is the difference for what you're getting for your money? Because one argument could be, well, hey, you pay more taxes in old Europe and in North America than you do here in New Europe, or maybe you're getting a lot more for your money. And well, one of the things when you look around and you see the level of infrastructure, especially in a place that's thriving and booming like Poland, also up to the Baltics. They're actually building Rail Baltica now, which is going to be a high-speed train line that goes all the way, eventually go all the way under the Baltic Sea to Helsinki. So then you're going to be able to go from Helsinki all the way by high-speed train down through the Baltics, squeeze through the Suwałki Gap between Kaliningrad and Belarus down to Warsaw. And when I'm in Warsaw and I see the level of infrastructure, it's as good, if not better at times, a lot of old Europe, so to say. There are other things you got to consider, like maybe the level of healthcare in the public sector, probably going to be better in old Europe overall. But then at the same time, things like the private healthcare system is dramatically cheaper actually than in old Europe. So, and then you get really great care. And personally, I've gotten better healthcare in the private sector here in New Europe than I've gotten, I think, even the private sector in old Europe, to be frank. For a lot of the standard things, it's more or less similar, I would say. So there are certain things that you need to obviously take a look at. Are you going to get more, depending what country you might be living in old Europe, for your tax, euros, dollars, pounds, Swiss francs, whatever it happens to be, versus here where you're going to pay a lot less personal income tax if you're tax resident in a country like Ukraine, Poland, the Baltics, Czechia, somewhere like that. So that's also part of the calculation you're going to have to make. But if you like the idea of low personal income taxes, then this part of Europe is definitely more in line with your preferences.
SAR Experience.
So in this video, we've obviously gone into the preferential tax rates in this part of Europe compared to Western Europe and North America. Also, my clients who are coming here to relocate for, say, 3 to 12 months per year, they're also attracted by the better value for money, because cost of living for the quality you get here in this part of Europe is superior to the Western part of Europe or in North America overall. In addition, you get a little bit more freedom in this part of the world. It's a bit less woke, for example. Government tends to leave you alone a little bit more, depending where you are. Might vary a little bit. And the number one reason is the dynamic dating market for the single guys. because here in this region, obesity and overweightness under the age of 40 for sure is really not a thing. So people just tend to be a lot healthier and a lot more attractive. In addition, the women of this region are famed for their natural beauty and their demeanor. So definitely for the single guys, it is a very interesting place to spend your time. And if you're wondering where you need to go when you arrive here, I have a free PDF, My Secret Places in New Europe. Going to give you a selection of places to hang out in some of the cities that I bring my clients to. Because in general, with this Russo-Ukrainian war, I've been bringing clients to Moldova, to the capital Chisinau, to Kazakhstan, all the way out on just off the Central Asian steppes to the capital Astana, and also the old capital, which is actually the commercial capital of Central Asia, Almaty. Also up to another neighbor of Ukraine, where there's a large diaspora of Ukrainians and also a big community of Belarusians. That would be Warsaw, Poland, and into the Baltic states, so to Vilnius in Lithuania and Riga in Latvia. So those are the cities that I have been bringing my clients to so far. These are the most popular for relocation or to explore amongst my audience. And if you're new to this channel, you want to go and educate yourself a little bit more about the options and why this region is perhaps for you, then I have a few playlists for you to check out. I'm going to go into the first one of three. So the first one of these playlists of the three is my Vodcast series, where I dive deep into the mindset of the people in this region. It's over 50 hours of content there, so probably go and scroll through it. Be discerning in which videos you're going to watch, otherwise you'll be there for 24 hours binge watching. Second one is the series of city vlogs of where I go with my clients, some of the cities I just mentioned. And the third one is like a series of tutorials for dating the uber beautiful women of this region, the 9s and 10s. I'm going to throw that up there as well on a card down below in the description. And yeah, here we are on the shores of the Black Sea. I bid you a do pobачення and hope to see you here soon, enjoying the preferential tax rates amongst the other benefits of being in this region, in this part of Europe. Bye bye.
SAR Experience.